हे नन्दसूनकुतः श्री गोवर्धन पादपतले कालिंदी वने कुतः हे नन्दसूनकुतः श्री गोवर्धन पादपतले कालिंदी वने कुतः श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरौ भुवि भुवः महन्त प्रकौ वन्दे रूप सनातनं जगद्गुरु सुरे सुरे सुतराज्य लक्ष्मी धर्मीच्छ आर्जवद जदगाद रन्ना सदा तुच्छब Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadip Dham ki Jai Ganga Mai ki Jai Jamuna Mai ki Jai Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai Swami Bhaktivind ki Jai. All glories to their spirit. All glories to their spirit. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, that's Pranam, Prabhu. So please, if you want to chant, you can chant, or you can continue now from here, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to everyone. Thank you for having me on this program. It is my honor and pleasure to be participating in this program. And my name is Radhakanta Das, and you are all welcome. And I also thank all of you for making time from your busy schedule for this very important program. We have to make time, from our material life for some spiritual activities. So once again, you're all welcome and thank you. Before
some devotees come, I would like to introduce you also little I know about it. I will try to introduce you to devotees.
Okay. So I should continue, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu. I say when the devotees come, I would like to talk little about you, introduce you.
Of course. Sure.
Okay.
So before today's class will be on the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 6. So before I start, I like to beg for the mercy and for the guidance of my spiritual master, and for the mercy and guidance of Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtasya Satarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakkan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Vanchai Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devaki Nandanaya cha, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namaha. Narayanam Namaskritya, Naram Cheva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam, Tato Jayamudhire, Nashta Praishu Abhadreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Shloke, Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be having a class on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, text number 6. So I was told that as a guideline, this class is for about 1 hour. And so I will try to finish within 50 minutes, 50 minutes, and leave the last 10 minutes for any questions and answers. So, Prabhuji, should I just continue with the shloka reading?
Just 1 minute before you start. So let me try to tell the devotees who are on the platform about you. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, we are very happy to have His Grace Radhakanta Prabhu. Radhakanta Prabhu is from Singapore, and Prabhu is a very nice devotee. He has been in Lagos, was with us in Lagos for many years. We were there together, and Prabhu is a disciple of His Holiness Naba Yogendra Swami Maharaj, and Prabhu has gotten a PhD in project management. So we're very happy to have Prabhu with us. So let us take association from Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Nice to have you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for that. Although I have a PhD in the material sense, but in the spiritual sense, I think I'm still a KG level. So, and I am also very happy to have all of your association. In fact, His Grace Kavi Prabhu told me to take this class, but Prabhuji, you and I'm sure others are much more qualified than I am. But since you have assigned me this responsibility, I seek your mercy and your blessing, and all the blessings and mercy of all the senior devotees and Gurudev and Prabhupada and all the acharyas. Thank you. So let me just read the shloka. Again, it is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 6. Anarthopashamam sakshat bhakti yogam adukshaje lokasya janato vidvamsh chakre satvata samhitam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. Purport: Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also. He saw, therefore, his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also. And he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy. And at last, he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service. But when, with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth. So today, this is a very, very beautiful shloka, and I have tried to take out a few important points. For example, material miseries. All of us in this material world, day in, day out, and throughout our entire life, we have material miseries. Whether we are rich, we are poor, yes, that's true. Even rich people have their own dose of material miseries. And we know this. So this is one of the key points. And today, let us discuss and deep dive into why we have these material miseries. Because in the purport, it's also mentioned by Prabhupada, this is unwanted miseries. So these are some of the key points. Another key point is the process of devotional service. That is the remedial measure of these unwanted miseries. And there's no other remedial measure. There's no other remedy. There's no other cure. There's only one cure. And that cure is the process of devotional service. And we will talk about this a little bit more in today's class. And Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that it is solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. That's right. Everything, actually, those of us who are humble, who are sincere, who are trying to be devotees. That's why I remember hearing some lectures by some other Maharaj, even including my own Maharaj. So I dare not call myself or anybody else devotees. We'll just say we are devotees in progress. Just like work in progress, we are devotees in progress. Yeah. So those of us who are humble, who are sincere, who are devotees in progress, we recognize this fact that we are always, every second, we are at the mercy of the Lord. Yeah. I mean, practical example, for example, a working adult, man or woman in an office, he tries to do his good work, but it is at the mercy of his boss, his superior, whether his performance will be appreciated, will be rewarded or not. So all he can do is perform his duty, and he's at the mercy of his superior in the office. At school, it's the same. Students go to school, they study, and then they have to sit for exams. Again, they are at the mercy of the school. Pass, fail, whether they get distinction and all that. Of course, they must do their part. And devotional service is also the same. We have to do our part. And what is that part? That part is the process of devotional service, which we will talk more about today. There's also another important point, One more key important point in today's shloka and purport: knowledge is dependent on devotional service. A lot of people think that, oh, I should read, and then that will give me a lot of knowledge and I will be a top class devotee. No. And you will listen to many lectures and spoken by other senior devotees that actually devotional service is more important and knowledge will come. Okay, and we will talk about this more today. So let's try to connect these key points, these few key points: material miseries, unwanted miseries, process of devotional service, wholly and solely depends on the mercy of the Lord. So we'll try to connect. So let me start with an example. When someone is diseased and he goes and see a doctor, and then the doctor says, oh, because of your disease, you must stop taking any solid food, only liquid food, liquid diet. So this person goes back and he tells himself, all my life I'm used to having solid food, variety of food. So now the doctor says that if I want to cure myself, I need to stop taking the solid food and I need to take only liquid food. So it is up to this person now. The medicine, the cure has been prescribed to him. Okay. Similarly, in our life, Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna. And Bhagavad Gita, it contains all the guiding instructions, guiding principles, the cure for our material miseries, unwanted miseries. And it's unwanted because we can actually get rid of it if we follow the path, the process of devotional service. So now coming back to this diseased person, he's at home now. Okay, maybe 1 day, 2 days, he takes liquid food. But after that, the urges will start coming. Yeah, Maya will set in, and his mind will start playing games with him, and he'll say, oh, never mind, let me take some solid food. What will happen? Never mind. And then he goes in battle with his mind. And then he tells himself, no, stick to liquid food. If you want to cure yourself from this unwanted misery or unwanted disease, then you stick to the liquid food. So, but then urges come in. And these urges, in fact, even a normal person, just like any normal human being, all of us, even though we are trying to be, we are practicing devotional service or devotees in progress, we also sometimes have urges. Of course, depending on our progress, some people, the more pure and advanced devotees, maybe they have zero urges, material urges I'm talking about. But those who are beginning, they have more material urges, and Maya is very strong. The influence of Maya is strong. So these material urges, urge for sense enjoyment, which is pulling us away from purity, from the path of devotional service. So now we should ask this next intelligent question. Why are the urges there? Why do we have these urges? Well, there are a few answers to this, and one very open answer, very simple answer is we are in this material world, and this material world is surrounded by a lot of material contamination. And because we are born in this material world, we also carry with us, inside us, contamination from previous life, previous birth. That's why one of the steps in achieving the ultimate love of Godhead or Krishna Prem is one of the steps is anartha nivritti. Anartha refers to contaminations, unwanted desires, urges. So it is important, but let's talk about why we have these urges. And I want to highlight an important point here. It is because we have these material urges, material sense enjoyment, these are the obstacles on our path of devotional service, and obstacles on our path going back to the spiritual world. The spiritual world is Sachit Ananda, is eternally blissful. The spiritual world is where we belong. The spiritual world is our original home, is our real home. This is the material world. Everything is temporary here. This life is temporary. This body is temporary. How we look today, we were different 20 years ago, and going forward in future, we'll have more wrinkles and we'll grow older, and everything is temporary. So, and yet, ignorant people, they are trying to make a permanent home in this temporary world. Yeah, let me just repeat that very important point. Ignorant people are trying to make a permanent home in this temporary world. We all know that our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great-grandfathers, they have come, they have gone, they have passed away. And same thing will happen to everyone. It's a temporary world. Spiritual world is our real home. And there is no cycle of birth, old age, disease, death. This cycle, this cycle is not there in the spiritual world. It is eternally blissful. So we must understand and recognize this point, that we should try our best, okay, to go back to the spiritual world, to our real home. So we need to overcome our material urges. Yeah. So going back to the spiritual world, some people have a strong desire because they have realized they have gained spiritual knowledge. Some people do not have a strong desire, but we should always never forget that Supreme Lord Krishna, he is our Supreme Father, and he is waiting for us in the spiritual world. Let me just quote some important points from a purport from Srila Prabhupada's purport in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, so a previous chapter, text 17. I'm just going to read out some important points. Prabhupada says in this purport, the Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. You see how merciful the Lord is, the Supreme Lord is. You see his causeless mercy. He is more anxious to take us back to the spiritual world than we can desire. So if we do not desire to go back to the spiritual world, I think we are fools.
So please give me that quote again.
It's from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, text 17. And let me just continue. Prabhupada has said a few other important points in this same purport. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. See, another causeless mercy. Krishna will help in all respects if anyone who desires. So, I'm sure we have heard from other speakers. As devotees, we must always have the desire. Always keep the desire, manifest the desire, grow the desire, water this seed of desire. And Krishna will help us. Krishna is sitting in our hearts as Paramatma. So he will help us. But we need to cultivate this desire, cultivate all this. How? Through the process of devotional service. Namely, hearing and chanting. Shravanam, Kirtanam. Okay. So you see, I have taken out a few important points from today's shloka and the purport, and I'm trying to link them and drive home a few important points here. Let's continue with Prabhupada's purport with a few more important points. Prabhupada says, one cannot enter into the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult to get rid of such desires, the desire to lord over material nature. Then Prabhupada says, when one is helped by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. So all we have to do is have the desire to go back, have a genuine desire, okay? Not with ulterior motives, genuine desire to go back to the spiritual world and cultivate through the process of devotional service. And there are 9 processes of devotional service, okay? Namely, the first 2 are hearing and chanting. And we will talk about the remaining 7 later. So now that Prabhupada has mentioned that we can only go back to the spiritual world if we are pure, if our sins have been cleared. Do we know how many sins we have? Can anyone tell us? No. We do not even know how many sins we have done in this life, and we don't even know how many sins we have as baggage from the previous lives. So how? Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 66, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayashyami ma shuchaha. Sarva papebhyo. Krishna says that if you surrender to me, okay, give up all other varieties of religion or any kind of other kind of practices, give up. Simply surrender to Krishna. Krishna says, Sarva papebhyo, all your sins I will wash away, do not fear. And Krishna said this in the last chapter, the concluding chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna is giving us the assurance, the guarantee. Why are we doubtful? Just surrender to Krishna. Follow this path of bhakti, devotional service, and we will be heading back towards our real original home, the spiritual world. But why do we have urges? And we need to control them. So what do? Arjun asked Lord Krishna in chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita also. Okay, and he asked, Arjuna uvacha athakena prayokto yam papam charati purusha anicham api vrashneya balat evo niyojitaha. Is why, Krishna, why? Arjun is asking Krishna, why? Sorry, let me read the translation. Arjun said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled, forced to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Why? Then Krishna answers immediately in the following shlok, in the following text. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, text 37. Krishna gives the answer. What is forcing us? What is impelling, is forcing us to commit sinful acts? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, text 37, Sri Bhagavan uvacha kamesha krodesha rajo gun samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma vidhi enam iha vairinam. Vairinam means greatest enemy. So what is the greatest enemy? Lust. Now let me read the translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjun, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Krishna states it very clear. So there should be no confusion about this. And this is early in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 37. It is lust only. It is because of lust. And why? Because with contact with the mode of passion. And we all know from Bhagavad Gita that there are 3 modes. We are always affected by the 3 modes of nature, of material nature. The lowest is the mode of ignorance, then mode of passion, and mode of goodness. We should always try to be situated in the mode of goodness at all the time. It is not easy, and that's why we need the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And Krishna has declared in various texts, in Bhagavad Gita, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna has declared that he will assist us, he will help us, and he has given assurance. All we have to do is cultivate the desire in our hearts, practice the process of devotional service, purify ourselves, surrender to Krishna, and he will wash away all the sins, and then we can go back. And then we can always be situated in the mode of goodness. In fact, apart from these three modes of material nature, mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness, we should be elevated up to the mode of transcendental goodness or pure goodness. That should be our aim. Okay, but it is a process. It's a gradual process. The sooner we start, the better. Prahlad Maharaj says that we should start our bhakti from the age of 5. So those of us who have started bhakti, devotional service, but are still not very serious yet, I hope with this class and with all the other previous classes and the future classes and all the books of Prabhupada, we should take this up more seriously. Okay? And that was Krishna giving the answer to Arjun in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 37. Text 39, there's also a very relevant text here. And I'll just read the translation. So this is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 39. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. So again, it is reconfirmed. It is our biggest enemy, Vairinam, is lust. Lust is not just attraction between man and woman or the sexual attraction. No, it's not only that. That is there, and that is one of the main part of lust. But there's lust for fame, you know. Oh, I want to be very famous. I want this. I want that. So there are various types of lust. There is lust for it can be called as a material attachment, material entanglement. For example, some people cannot give up entertainment. They cannot give up drinking. They cannot give up smoking. You know, so there is some kind of addiction. There's some kind of attraction. So that is also part of this lust, and we can only overcome by the mercy of the pure devotees, Vaishnavas, and by Krishna. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam, I want to read another very relevant translation. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 26. Upon becoming fixed in his attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by the grace of the spiritual master and by awakening knowledge and detachment, the living entity situated within the heart of the body and covered by the 5 elements burns up his material surroundings exactly as fire arising from wood burns the wood itself. So the point about this shlok is we can burn away our lust. We can burn away all our anarthas. In fact, in today's shloka, the very first word is anartha. We can burn away all our anarthas, all our contaminations, all our bad activities, and we can become pure if we become fixed in this process of devotional service. By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by the grace of spiritual master, and we can start our process of purifying ourselves. And purifying is not only the heart. Maybe I can give another example. A lot of people like this car model, BMW. People say, oh, BMW, and they like BMW. So, body, mind, words. So, if you like BMW, you can remember B stands for body, mind, and words. We need to purify ourselves through our body, our mind, and our words. Okay, so body, of course, we keep our body clean and all that. Plus, we should not participate in any dirty, contaminated activities. Meat eating, okay, intoxication, illicit sex, and there are many others bodily contaminated activities. No, keep away from them. If we are serious about purifying ourselves, if we are serious to cultivate the desire in our hearts, and if we are serious to receive the mercy from the Supreme Lord, and if we are serious to return back to the spiritual world. So purify from the body and our mind. Sometimes our mind thinks about, unwanted, undesirable things. We should keep away from them. Control our mind. Okay? How? By practice, detachment. Okay? And this is again given in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, text 35, and Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, text 8. Krishna says, practice. Okay, and detachment. Detachment from what? Detach yourself from unfavorable activities. Okay, our 6 Goswamis tell us that we should only do those things which are favorable to our devotional service, and we should avoid all those things which are unfavorable on this process of devotional service. Now let's talk about the process of devotional service. There are 9. Actually, there are in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 64 different processes, and out of the 64, there are 9 main ones. Okay, the 9 main ones are, and the first 2 I've mentioned to you: Shravanam, listening; number 2, Kirtanam, chanting; number 3, Vishnu Smaranam, remembering Lord Vishnu; number 4, Pada Sevanam, serving the lotus feet of the Lord; number 5, Archanam, worshipping; number 6, Vandanam, prayers; number 7, Dasyam, serving as a servant, Dasyam; number 8, Sakhyam, serving as a friend, just like Arjun; and number 9, Atma Nivedanam, completely, fully surrendered down to, from your core, all the way in, you're fully, completely surrendered. And as Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 66, as I read earlier, Krishna says, abandon all varieties, just surrender to me, and I will remove away all your sins. Do not fear. So these are the 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. Listening, chanting, remembering, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping, praying, prayers, serving as a servant, serving as a friend, and fully surrendered. If you can do all 9, very good. If you can do 8, any 7, any 6, any 5, at least please do the first 2, because they are topmost. They are most important. Listening and chanting. Okay, and chanting what? Chanting the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And this is called the Maha Mantra. Mantra is, well, it's a Sanskrit word, but today you even find it in the English dictionary, and you find in management books, and they say this is the management mantra or something like that. There are different mantras. Similarly, in our scriptures, there are many different mantras for a particular objective. But, so there are all many different mantras. This particular one is called the Maha Mantra, Maha, topmost mantra. So we should chant this Maha Mantra, and this Maha Mantra will purify us. And with this Maha Mantra, we will be able to cultivate the desire in our heart, and things will become clear. Once things become clear, okay, as we make progress, I mean, let's talk about me. I also came from a very normal family. Okay, I did not know about Bhagavad Gita. I did not know about Krishna, that he was the supreme. I did not even know about this Maha Mantra. But after so many years now, okay, I can see the changes in me by the mercy of my Gurudev, Prabhupada, Acharyas, Krishna. So as we continue on this process of devotional service, as we make progress, clarity will come, and we will feel the connection with Krishna. And then the knowledge which we read from the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of Prabhupada's books, the knowledge which we read, and the knowledge which we listen from classes like this, then we will be able to understand the real essence, the real nectar. We will be able to relish the real taste of that knowledge. That's why the last sentence of today's purport, it says, knowledge comes and depends on devotional service, not the other way around. Okay, so cultivate devotional service. Now, I have listed out, not I beg your pardon. This is also given in our scriptures. These 9 processes of devotional service. Now, a very good example is Narada Muni. We know how glorious Narada Muni is. He is the spiritual master to Srila Vyasadeva, Dhruv Maharaj, and many others. Okay, Narada Muni is so glorious. But in his previous life, before he became Narada Muni, he was the son of a very poor lady, and she was basically doing cleaning in people's houses. Yeah, so he was the son, and once during the 4 months of Chaturmas, a group of sages came to his house. And Narada Muni was still very young, maybe about 5 years old, or maybe plus minus one or two more years. But he was very young. And together with his mother, he was serving those sages. And they were staying in his house, in their house, for 4 months. And I'm not going to go too much in detail of this very nice, actually, pastime and lila of Narada Muni. But my point here is, serving those sages in those 4 months, Narada Muni got so elevated, okay? But of course, after that, his mother passed away, and then he started traveling and moving around, and then he made further progress, and he received the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And then the next birth, he became Narada Muni. But coming back to the 4 months when he was a little boy and serving those sages, okay, he got so elevated, and he got so much mercy. He received so much mercy that he became Narada Muni in the next birth. So during those 4 months, what happened? He had association with those sages. Okay, he was serving them as a dasyam, as a servant. Okay, and he was associating with them. He was shravanam. He was listening to them, listening to their advice, to their guidelines, to their instructions, and all this started to increase his faith, and he became detached from material sense gratification, and slowly he became detached from material desires. And these are all the keywords of today's shloka, which you will notice. And the love of Godhead started, because now after listening to all these sages, I'm talking about Narada Muni, before he was a Narada Muni, as a little boy, having served the sages, listening to them, serving them, associating with them, practicing their instructions, and staying away from material desires, the urges went away and he purified himself. Okay, so, and we can learn from this example of Narada Muni's previous life. This is a proof of the practical application of the above mentioned 9 processes of devotional service. I want to also talk about another relevant text from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 107. The English translation: pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. You see how beautiful that is? This is taken from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, text 107. The pure love for Krishna is awakened only when the heart is purified by hearing and chanting. So, how simple is the process? It's very simple. We don't have to do many big yagyas, fire sacrifices, big donations, thousands of dollars of donations, or doing many different things. No, we just simply have to genuinely practice hearing and chanting. It's confirmed in many shlokas, many texts in our scriptures. And by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. Let's talk about, when we talk about chanting, I'm sure you must have been told, I have been told many times by my senior devotees, hey, Prabhu, when you do chanting, make sure you do attentive chanting. So what is attentive chanting? Of course, it means chant with attention, with focus on your chanting. Do not think about anything else. So I just want to mention one point here is, when we are chanting is also a process to awaken. Chanting is also a process to purify ourselves, remove all the sins and the contaminations. And chanting is also to awaken the love. And chanting is also to establish a connection with Krishna. So if you want a connection with Krishna, nothing should come in between. Nothing should come in between. Then you can have a strong connection with Krishna. So nothing should come in between, meaning when you're chanting, you should not think of anything else. It should be attentive chanting. I hope this point will help to convince all of us, to practice attentive chanting. And chanting is the way to awaken love of Krishna. Now, I'm looking at the time also, and I just want to make one more point. And I was reading one of the books here, Prabhupada books, and then once Prabhupada was in his room, and his disciples were all sitting around him, and then Prabhupada asked his disciples, because there was a conversation and discussion going on various things. Then Prabhupada asked this question: tell me, why did I write so many books? So this is Prabhupada in his room asking this question to his disciples. Why did I write so many books? So some of the disciples raised their hand and said, oh, Prabhupada, because you want to give us knowledge of Krishna. Prabhupada said, no. Another disciple said, oh, Prabhupada, because you want to tell us who Krishna is. No. Oh, Prabhupada, you want us to have material detachment and not to have any sense enjoyment, material sense enjoyment. No. Then so they were all offering all kind of answers, and they all seemed to be correct. I mean, and Prabhupada said no. Then they all gave up, and they all folded their hands and they said, Prabhupada, please tell us. Please tell us, what is the answer? Why did you write so many books? And Prabhupada said, and this is very important, dear listeners, Prabhupada said, I wrote so many books is to convince all of you to do chanting. How powerful is that? In fact, I'm having goosebumps now, just speaking this. Yes, Prabhupada said that. I wrote all these books, all that knowledge, all that realization, all that is there, is to convince all of you to do chanting, do more and more chanting. Never give up on your chanting, never compromise on your chanting, never find excuses not to chant. Our mind can be our greatest friend or greatest enemy. So don't let our mind play games with us. And if we love Prabhupada, then don't compromise on chanting. 16 rounds, you can finish in 2 hours plus. Yeah, and 16 rounds is the minimum. In fact, I remember associating with some devotees in my temple here, and they say, oh, I have done my 16 rounds. Then where is your chanting bag? Oh, it is at home. Because then I will pick up my chanting bag the next day. 16 rounds is minimum. And the more we chant, it is for our benefit. And there are so many texts that I've quoted to you today, that hearing and chanting, hearing, chanting, these very important. So with this, I would like to end today's class. But I just want to mention one thing. Today is also a very auspicious day. It is the disappearance day of Sri Jayadev Goswami. So let us remember him and glorify him by speaking a few words about him. Today is the disappearance day of Sri Jayadev Goswami. Sri Jayadev Goswami was born 300 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. Yeah, and so that must have been about 800 plus years ago. Yet he is such an important acharya. What did he? Of course, there are many things about him, and because of the time constraint, I'll just mention one or two things. He composed the Gita Govind or Geet Govind. Okay, Geet Govind is composed of 12 chapters, and there are sub chapters within them. It is basically glorifying the love and the pastimes between Radharani and Krishna and the gopis. It is describing the mood, the very pure, divine, transcendental, blissful mood of the pastimes between Radharani, Krishna, and gopis. And even though he was born 300 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to listen to this Geet Govind every day. Every day. So, because it was very dear, it was full of divine love. Yeah. And one more point I just want to add about Sri Jayadev Goswami. So when he was composing, in the process of composing, while he was composing, and of course we must not forget that he was a very exalted, very, very exalted acharya. So while he was composing the Geet Govind, and he had this inspiration that, and he was about to write down that Krishna bent down and touched the lotus feet of Radharani. And when he had this thing in his mind, he stopped himself from writing. He said, oh, if I write this down, then am I bringing Krishna down, Krishna's status and fame lower? I mean, Krishna is touching the feet of Srimati Radharani. Oh, I cannot do this. Then he immediately put down his paper. Well, those days was not paper, was leaf. Whatever writing material, he put it down, and he went to the Ganges and he took his bath. In the meantime, Krishna came and he took the form of Jayadev, Sri Jayadev Goswami. He took his form, he came, and he picked up the writing material and he completed the sentence by writing that Krishna bent down and touched the lotus feet of Radharani. And then when Jayadev, when Sri Jayadev Goswami came back, when he picked up his writing material, he saw that this line has been written. And then he knew from his heart that Krishna came, and it is Krishna's desire that this should be recorded and written. So with this, I end today's class. I thank you all for patiently bearing with me and listening to me. Are there any questions or any comments or feedback, please? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Radhakanta. We're very happy to have your wonderful session. I was drinking your lecture like nectar. It was entering through the ears like nectar. So really appreciate you. So is Keshava Prabhu wants to ask you a question. Please unmute yourself and ask your question, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Radhakanta Prabhu. I've a couple of comments and a question. My question is, it sounds like you're from either Singapore or Malaysia. Question number 2, were you in Nairobi a few years ago living in Malawi? That's my question. Second thing is my comment. You were talking about controlling the mind and all these different kinds of things. Something I found to be a very helpful technique is if we spend some time thinking about how we can help others, even we may be below the platform of neophyte devotional service, which I certainly am at. I'm not even a neophyte. But I find that my mind becomes pacified somewhat if I think about how I can reach out to other people in different ways. And we see about the internet, we find so many churches, and we can look up the congregational members' names on church websites, and it's just so easy to reach out in some way. So all I would like to say is, if one good way of taking the focus away from our own desires, our own needs, our own compulsions, tendencies, et cetera, those things automatically get moved aside if we just find a couple of people that we can single out and focus on helping them get some interest in Krishna consciousness or Prabhupada's mission. So.
Thank you very much for sharing your questions, 2 questions, and for your comment. Yes, I'm from Singapore. I was born here, and in fact, my parents were born here, and my grandparents were also born here. So I'm a Singaporean.
Yeah, I can hear it.
No, I was my accent. And no, I was not in Nairobi. I was in Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah. And to your comment, I completely, absolutely agree. And if I can sum that up in one word, it's called service. You know, when we help others, when we serve others, I think it really purifies us. And I can speak from my own experience. I mean, I was a naval officer, a captain in the Navy. So you can imagine what kind of rubbish, fallen material life I had, and to purify myself, I was doing service, and as we all know, we all should be servant of the servant of the servant. So service can be done directly to another fellow human being, and service can also be done to the temple. For example, on our free time, we can go to the temple and just clean the temple, mop the temple, clean here, clean there, clear whatever things, dusting. That also helps, and it helped me those days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Keshava Prabhu. So, any other question from devotees? Please feel free to ask His Grace Radhakanta Prabhu's asking question. Any question you want to ask Prabhu. Like Prabhu was asking, Keshava Prabhu was asking whether you are from Singapore, because he was not here in the beginning when I was introducing Prabhu. So Radhakanta Prabhu, like I said earlier on, he's from Singapore, and he has PhD in project management, and also he has been in Lagos, Nigeria, and also America. So he's back to Singapore now, and he's doing his wonderful preaching there. Him and his family. So we are very happy to have Prabhu here. So any other question, please? So, okay, Kusha Prabhu want to ask a question, please. Then after Kusha Prabhu, I will ask my own question.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You mentioned the 64 processes of devotional service. Out of them is 9 prominent ones. My question is, out of the 9 prominent ones, which one is most important?
According to the nectar of devotion, the first 2, hearing and chanting.
Okay.
And I think from Prabhupada books is chanting, but definitely hearing and chanting. And Prabhupada used to say that when we chant, we should hear and listen our own chanting. So hearing and chanting.
So between this hearing and chanting and taking of Mahaprasadam, which one is more powerful?
Without food in the stomach, we won't operate.
Because
so,
this question is because Narada Muni said he took the remnants of the Bhaktivedantas. He didn't even mention he was chanting. He said you only serving them and took their remnants. So chanting and hearing and chanting and taking Mahaprasadam, which one is more important to be a good devotee?
Yes, that's right. So with my limited knowledge, I do not know if Narada Muni had chanted or not. I have not read anywhere, and I'm not sure whether those sages, when they were there for 4 months in his house, were they also chanting? And I'm pretty sure they were also chanting. So maybe he heard their chanting, but I don't want to speculate.
Yes, thank you very much. So thank you very much, Prabhu. So that is why, like what you say, you don't want to speculate. Yeah, it's true. But that is why Narada Muni, we see also as a Narada Muni, is always chanting, Narayana, Narayana, always chanting. So chanting is very important. So Prabhu, my own question is about attentive chanting. You mentioned about attentive chanting, because we've seen every time we talk about attentive chanting. From my own experience, even though after chanting for many years, still to remain attentive while chanting is very difficult, especially if you don't chant in the morning. If you don't chant early in the morning, to remain attentive any other time in the day is very, very difficult. So I don't know, how can we measure our progress in attentive chanting?
Yes, Prabhuji, I agree with you. Early morning chanting is the best, because early morning is said that it is a mode of goodness. Then later on in the afternoon, it becomes mode of passion. In the evening and night becomes mode of ignorance. That's what he says in the books. So definitely we should do during early morning in the mode of goodness, and also to help us improve our attentive chanting. Or to help us improve the quality of chanting. What some of the practical things that I have seen and learned from others is early morning they sit close to Tulsi Maharani, and if you do not have a Tulsi plant at home for some reason, then instead of sitting on the bed, which is a bad, not recommended thing, come and sit next to your home altar. Be in your home altar, your home temple area, because that area is mode of goodness. Then select your time, the time where you will not be disturbed or it is nothing important. So put your phone away, put all distractions away. If you have to silence them, just put them away. And as we chant more, our speed also increases and the time taken is also not so much. So we can do that. Plus, I would add my own realization. We are chanting is because of love of Krishna. So let's take example of in the material world. When you take 2 lovers, a male and a female, 2 lovers, what is the expectation of both the lover? This lover A says that, okay, you are always in my mind. Okay, and the lover B will say, yes, and make sure you should not cheat on me, you should not think about anybody else. Yeah, you should be genuine to me. In our love relationship, we should be genuine to each other. We should not think about anybody else. Nobody should come in between us. So then we foster that love relationship, and that love will be pure then. It will be strong. Yeah, I'm talking about material. So I apply the same logic in my spiritual, in my bhakti. I say I love Krishna. I want to show Krishna that I love Krishna. So if I love Krishna, nothing and nobody should come in between. So if my mind goes here and there, then I'm not being faithful. Yeah. So if I have any other desire, then I'm not being faithful. That helps me in my attentive chanting. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. That is a very nice example. Really enjoy your lecture, Prabhu. Thank you very much. So I'm not seeing any other hands up. So we are very grateful, Prabhu, for accepting our invitation. We're very happy. We really like, I pick, especially for me, I don't know about others. I pick some salient points that are, that is going to help me more and more in my spiritual practice, When you are because I'm saying this because when you are staying in the temple and you are preaching, and when you are living far from the temple, it's completely two different things. Now I'm not staying in the temple. I'm not living in the temple. I'm living on my own. So whatever point you are saying is going to be very practical for me, because also you are not living in the temple. so thank you very much, Prabhu. So
before you, I'm glad that you said you have picked up a few points for my lecture, because I have picked up many points from you. I have learned, and I want everybody to know that Prabhuji, Kavi Prabhuji here, he has been very instrumental in my bhakti progress and in my wife's as well. If she is here, she will quickly come here and she will say the same thing, I know. So I speak on behalf of her and myself. Prabhuji, we have learned many things from you, your class, your everything, and the way you used to share with us very practical examples, applications. So I am also very grateful to you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. We are very grateful to have you, Prabhu. So let us all, devotees, please, let us unmute ourselves and let us appreciate Prabhu by loudly chanting one powerful Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Haribol.
Haribol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,